let's get into some topics.
Right.
Immigration.
Yeah.
When we last talked, you said, I said, hey, you're going to deport 20 million people all at once. That seems quite chaotic. And you said, no, we're going to do it like a sandwich. Take a couple of bites. How's that going?
I think it's going well. I mean, we are criticized, interestingly, by some folks on the right who want the pace of deportations to be higher. And I certainly understand that, frankly, and share that frustration. The counter argument is the courts are trying to stop us at every step of the way. And until about a month ago, we didn't have the resources for ICE to actually get this massive invasion that Joe Biden led into our country. We didn't have the resources necessary to actually process a lot of those people. That has changed because of the big, beautiful bill. We've also gotten some court case wins, so I expect that the pace of deportations will increase a little bit. But importantly, when people criticize us and they say, sometimes I'll hear this criticism, well, the pace of deportations from the Trump administration is actually lower than it was in the Biden administration. And that's actually a completely fake statistic. It's based on the fact that if you come into the country illegally and then the Biden administration processes you and sends you out, that counts as a deportation. It counts as an illegal immigration, and then it counts as deportation. So you have to look at the net number, right? If you do +1, -1, I'm not a math expert, but I'm pretty sure that's 0. The net number is what really matters. And where the Trump administration, where we've been most wildly successful, is that we have, I think in 2025, we will have the first net negative immigration number in about 50 or 60 years in the United States. And so there has been a major shift in immigration policy. Now, again, I'm like, me and Stephen Miller are probably the two most hardline people in the entire administration when it comes to immigration. So there's always more that we can do. And like I said, I think that there's more that we can do. But if you just look fundamentally, what people said is that if you actually take border enforcement seriously, the entire economy is going to collapse. Inflation is going to go through the roof. Housing costs are going to go through the roof. And if you look, while there's still a lot more to do, inflation has cooled. Housing costs are now showing signs of peaking. I think according to Zillow, over the past 12 months, housing costs have gone up 0.8%. The Biden administration, they basically nearly doubled the cost of a mortgage for an average family. So there are a lot of things that we're showing work, and we're showing importantly that it turns out if you put your faith in American workers, you can build great companies, you can build a great economy. You don't have to build an entire economy on illegal labor, which is what the Democrats told us we had to do. So we're not just doing a good job, I think we're also proving out the use case and proving out what the Trump campaign said that it was going to do in the Trump administration.
And President Trump, I think, came out and said, hey, we maybe should appreciate some of these immigrants who've been here for 20 years and maybe give them a path to citizenship, maybe think about restaurants and farms and maybe show some compassion to those people. And I think the objection perhaps that some of us have is the style in which you're doing it. A little aggressive, what happened in LA, and you seem to maybe internally in the administration found a middle ground maybe, and listen to the other side and maybe our opinions on it?
Well, first, the Trump administration obviously is a big group of people with a lot of different opinions, and we all have to talk about this stuff and try to come up with the right decision. But the administration, the decision maker is, of course, one man.
Yeah.
And while he listens to everybody, he's also going to make the decisions that he thinks are best for the country, and then we go and execute that after, of course, having a big conversation around the inner circle. What the president has said is, number one, we're not going to do amnesty in this country. We're actually not going to tell people who have come into the country illegally that they're allowed to break our laws and be rewarded for it. We're just not going to do that. But there are a whole host of other ways when we talk to, agricultural industries and others where they say, well, we really need labor. Well, there are a whole host of ways in which you can try to solve those problems. My favorite solution for those problems is automation, right? I actually think there's a lot of evidence that the American agricultural economy is a little behind the 8 ball when it comes to using technology. There are ways where we're talking about facilitating the use of automation. So we're not going to have amnesty, but we also recognize that there are a lot of industries out there we want to thrive. And I think the president's trying to strike the right balance. And Jason, you said something about compassion, and I think this is really important. I do think that we have to make a stronger argument here. There's nothing discompassionate, or there's nothing hateful about enforcing your own borders. It's a question of, do you facilitate, thank you guys, but Do you facilitate these Mexican drug cartels, the drug trafficking that they're engaged in?
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
The hundreds of thousands, I'm not saying you would ever say this, but the hundreds of thousands of missing children under the Biden administration, the fact that some of these young girls are being sex trafficked by Mexican drug cartels, when you enforce the nation's border laws, that is the most compassionate thing to do, both for your own people, but also for the people who are illegally